Monday, March 24th, 2025. Third week of Lent. First reading. There were many lepers in Israel, yet none of them were healed, but only Naaman, the Syrian. A reading from the second book of Kings, 5:1-15a. In those days, Naaman, the army commander of the king of Aram, was a highly esteemed and respected man by his master, for through him the Lord had given victory to the Arameans. But this mighty warrior was a leper. Now, Aramean raiders had gone out and taken captive a young girl from the land of Israel, who became a servant to Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would present himself to the prophet in Samaria, he would surely heal him of his leprosy." Naaman went and reported this to his master, saying, "A young girl from the land of Israel said this and that." The king of Aram said, "Go, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel." So Naaman departed, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 gold shekels, and 10 sets of garments. He delivered the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "With this letter, I am sending my servant Naaman to you, so that you may cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his garments and said, "Am I God, with the power to give life and death, that this man sends me a leper to cure? Clearly, he is seeking a pretext against me." When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his garments, he sent word to him, "Why have you torn your garments? Send the man to me, so that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots, and stopped at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent him a messenger saying, "Go and wash 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be clean." But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, "I thought he would surely come out to me, stand and call upon the name of the Lord his God, wave his hand over the place, and cure me. Are not the rivers of Damascus, the Abana, and the Pharpar, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be cleansed?" So he turned and went away in rage. But his servants approached him and said, "My father, if the prophet had asked you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more, then, when he simply says, 'Wash and be clean'?" So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, as the man of God had instructed, and his flesh became like that of a little child, and he was cleansed. He returned with his whole retinue to the man of God. Upon arriving, he stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the earth, except in Israel." The word of the Lord. Psalm 42:41. My soul thirsts for God, the living God. When shall I see the face of God? As the deer longs for running streams, so my soul longs for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, the living God. When shall I go and behold the face of God? Send forth your light and your truth. They will be my guide. Let them lead me to your holy mountain, to your dwelling place. Then I will go to the altar of God, the God of my joy. I will praise you with the harp, O God, my God. Gospel acclamation. Jesus Christ, you are blessed. You are the anointed one of God the Father. I place my hope in the Lord. I trust in his word. For with the Lord is kindness and abundant redemption. Jesus, like Elijah and Elisha, was not sent only to the Jews. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke 4 verses 24-30. Jesus, coming to Nazareth, said to the people in the synagogue, "Amen, I say to you, no prophet is accepted in his own hometown. Indeed, I tell you, there were many widows in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the sky was closed for 3.5 years, and a severe famine spread over the entire land. Yet Elijah was sent to none of them, but only to a widow in Zarephath in Sidon. Again, there were many lepers in Israel in the time of the prophet Elisha, yet none of them was cleansed, but only Naaman, the Syrian." When they heard this, everyone in the synagogue was filled with rage. They rose up and drove him out of the town. They led him to the top of the hill, on which their town was built, intending to throw him off the cliff. But Jesus passed through their midst and went on his way. The Gospel of the Lord. Today's readings invite us to reflect on faith, humility, and God's mercy, which extends beyond boundaries and expectations. The story of Naaman, the the Syrian general, is a powerful lesson in obedience and humility. He was a great warrior, but his strength could not heal him from leprosy. Only God could. However, Naaman initially resisted the simple command of Elisha to wash 7 times in the Jordan River. His pride almost prevented him from receiving the miracle. He expected something grand, some dramatic act of healing. But God's ways are often simple and require trust. Naaman's eventual obedience led to his healing, not just physically, but spiritually. His words, "Now I know that there is no God in all the earth, except in Israel," show his newfound faith. This teaches us that God's grace is available to all, but we must humble ourselves to receive it. How often do we resist God's ways because they do not align with our expectations? Are we open to his healing, even when it comes in unexpected forms? Jesus challenges the people of Nazareth by reminding them that God's blessings are not limited to Israel. Just as Elijah was sent to a foreign widow and Elisha healed a Syrian, God's mercy reaches beyond chosen people to all who have faith. This truth enraged the people because they wanted to keep God's blessings for themselves. This passage forces us to examine our own hearts. Do we sometimes feel entitled to God's grace while judging others as unworthy? Are we willing to accept that God may work in unexpected ways, even through those we least expect? Like Naaman, we must approach God with humility. Like the widow of Zarephath, we must trust in his providence. And unlike the people of Nazareth, we must open our hearts to the truth, even when it challenges us. Lenten reflection. During this Lenten journey, God calls us to humble obedience, deep trust, and a heart open to his ways. Let's ask ourselves, where do I need healing in my life? Am I willing to let go of my expectations and surrender to God's plan? How can I grow in faith and humility, recognizing that God's mercy is for all? May we learn from Naaman's humility and from Jesus' challenge to be open to God's boundless grace. Let us trust in the Lord, for his ways lead to true healing and salvation.